The U.S. has confirmed that it has carried out additional strikes in Yemen to target Iran-backed rebel groups. This in retaliation to the Iran-backed Houthi rebels attacking shipping vessels in the Red Sea. This as U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken heads to West Asia in a bid to secure a new truce in the Israel-Hamas war. On his fifth trip to the region since the October 7th attack against Israel, Blinken is expected to visit Saudi Arabia, Israel, Egypt, and Qatar. The diplomatic push has become more urgent with a surge in attacks across the region by Iran-backed groups. Reports claim the proposed truce aims to pause fighting for an initial 6 weeks. According to the U.S. Central Command, they carried out strikes in self-defense against Houthi rebels. These developments come just 2 days after U.S. carried out strike against Iranian-linked targets in Iraq and Syria. It marks the latest escalation of the conflict that President Biden maintains he seeks to avoid. On Sunday, the White House also said that it intends to continue Iran-backed groups and attacking those groups in Iraq, Syria, as well as Yemen. Meanwhile, regarding the Red Sea, Britain's Prime Minister Rishi Sunak says that strikes on Houthi rebels are for self-defense against the Iran-backed group's continued targeting of commercial ships and warships. For more on this, we are being joined by Dr. Elizabeth Kendall, Middle East expert and head of Girton College at Cambridge University. She is joining us live from Cambridge, United Kingdom. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us on WION. The question many are asking are these risks for the United States as a prolonged war in Gaza continues and rising tensions in the Middle East as well?
Certainly, there are considerable risks associated with this war in Gaza that's now spreading out well beyond Gaza. I think that allies are starting to tire of the US in the region. After all, it was the US that vetoed the resolution for a ceasefire at the United Nations. And what are they seeing? They're seeing a horrendous civilian death toll in Gaza. They're seeing the destruction of massive civilian infrastructure, and the war aims are pretty difficult to achieve in Gaza. Hamas is probably going to not be annihilated completely, although it will be degraded. But meanwhile, what we're now seeing is that in return, there is pressure being ramped up across the region from Iran's so-called axis of resistance. And that has the danger of spillover and a further regional escalation. And by that, I mean the Shi'i groups in Iraq and Syria, backed by Iran, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and of course, the Houthis in Yemen. So there's no denying that we are now in a spiral of escalation.
The United States hopes that this balancing act it's playing in the region will ultimately play off, trying to deter attacks, yet not willing to be sucked in itself. How successful do you think the U.S. has been so far and may be moving forward?
The difficult question. I think that the US has been fairly successful so far. There are signs that the balancing act is sort of working, that neither side, neither Iran nor the United States wants an all-out war. For example, the United States has publicly been telegraphing its strikes in advance. That gives people plenty of time to prepare on the ground. And it's not attacking Iran directly. It's attacking Iran's partners and proxies in Syria, Iraq, and also, of course, in Yemen. And of course, at the same time, Iran and its partners are playing down the effects of the US airstrikes. And that means that they don't have to save face by taking very major reprisals. So at the moment, it is a fairly low level of tit for tat. But we must remember that this is how wars start. This is how wars enlarge. This is how wars escalate. It just needs one miscalculation, and then the whole region could spiral into an all-out war. So let's not be too complacent just yet.
Dr. Elizabeth Kendall, thank you so much for joining us on WION this morning, and I look forward to speaking to you again very soon.
You're welcome.